Who and what is God? Before I was a Christian, I couldn't tell you, which is actually pretty common. Many people tend to assume that what one person or religious tradition means by God is the same as another. So, whatever name or personality we ascribe to our higher power, we're still talking about the same being or non being, as in the case of those whose spirituality doesn't include a personal deity at all. But when Christians use the word God, we mean something, or rather someone very specific. We are talking about a supernatural being who eternally exists, the maker of heaven and earth, who is without beginning or end, the only God who truly exists because none came before him and none are his equal. And really, nothing about that belief is too controversial or even all that different from what, say, historic Islam and Judaism would believe. And in fact, Christians and Jews both joyfully affirm the Old Testament's witness that there is only one God, that God is one, which is the foundation of the greatest commandment that we see in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. This is the witness of both the Old and New Testament. But the New Testament deepens our understanding of that one God by revealing that he exists as three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And if you've ever heard or read the word Trinity in relationship to God, that's what it's referring to. But where did this idea come from? Is it in the Bible, or is it something that Christians made up along the way? Now, here's the thing. If you go looking for the word Trinity in the Bible, you're going to be disappointed. The word is not there, but the truth that word points to is all throughout. For example, you'll see that starting with Jesus, God is often called Father. Jesus deepens our understanding of the one God in terms of intimacy, both between the Father and his people, but also between the Father and Jesus himself. God is my Father, Jesus said, and God is our Father too. Again, this part, not terribly controversial. But then there's Jesus himself, because throughout the Gospels, Jesus is unquestionably depicted as divine. And in fact, when he's introduced in John's Gospel, it's in his divine and eternal form, whom John calls the Word. That same Word, John wrote, came to earth and dwelt among his people, revealing the glory of God as his one and only Son. In word and deed, Jesus made himself equal to God, going so far as to say that he and the Father are one. And everyone around him knew what he was doing. That's, in fact, the whole reason the religious leaders wanted to kill him in John chapter 5. Jesus is equal to the Father. He is divine as the Father is divine. Very God of very God, as the Nicene Creed puts it. And finally, we have the Holy Spirit, whose more ethereal nature has led some to treat him as a what rather than a who. A manifestation of power instead of a person. But the scriptures describe him as a divine person. The Holy Spirit is eternal, having been present at the beginning before the work of creation began. He is omnipresent and all-knowing and all-powerful. He speaks and teaches and comforts. And I could go on listing different attributes and actions, but here's the point. The Holy Spirit is God, just as the Father and the Son are God, fully divine, perfectly and eternally united in their essence and will, free from subordination and hierarchy. But even as they are eternally united in their essence and will, they're also distinct from one another. So while the Father, Son, and Spirit are all fully and equally God, the Father is not the Son, nor is he the Spirit. And the Son is not the Father, nor is he the Spirit. And the Spirit is not the Father, nor is he the Son. Now, admittedly, the nature of God is a bit of a head scratcher. I mean, it stretches the limits of our comprehension and our language, which, by the way, is why it's a really, really bad idea to make analogies to try to make sense of the Trinity, to make it easier to understand, because it doesn't work. But the Trinity is so important because what we believe about God shapes everything else that we believe, which means that for Christians, the Trinity is one of the great dividing lines, one of the essentials of the essentials. It separates Christians from every other religion and worldview because the Trinity is so unlike the gods of any other religion. And more than that, God's nature is the foundation of the gospel, the grain of our prayers, and the lens and power through which we are to read the scriptures. Now, again, God's nature is a mystery without question. But as you explore it for yourself, I hope that you will see that it is a beautiful mystery to behold.